Okay, for the next 2 weeks, you're going to be working on perspectives and renderings. And some of this will be kind of a recap because a lot of these things you've done previously. So we're going to recap and maybe go a little bit deeper into some of these things because thus far we've not dealt with perspective views in Revit. And so I'm going to be introducing that to you a little bit also. So in Revit, when we deal with 3D, we've got two different types. One is orthographic, which is what you're seeing on the screen here now. This is the default 3D view that shows up in your browser here. And if you notice, it's an orthographic 3D, meaning that all the sizes are real sizes. It can be set to scale. So when you look at the height of the wall is the same closer to you as it is farther away because it's orthographic. Think of it as an isometric, or what would really be termed an axonometric view or drawing, which means that all of the height dimensions are actual dimensions. Okay, so they're the actual size. But if we go to a perspective view, if you remember back, I can't remember, 1103, we might have did a little bit of this with sketching. If you look at a perspective view, this is how we see things with our eyes. Things that are closer to us appear larger, things that are farther away appear smaller. And so as you can look at this view here, this corner being closer to us looks taller. Things that are further away appear smaller. And what would normally be the horizontal lines, like the bottom edge of the building, the top edge of the building, as they move away from you, they converge, excuse me, they converge on a vanishing point. And your architectural textbook has a really good chapter and section on drawing these, and it's really kind of interesting to hand draw them. It's a process. It's a mixture of art and drafting, but it is a process that you go through to get the sizes correct. Okay, so now to create these views, a couple of things, because we're looking at this as toward developing presentation drawings or presentation views to go on our drawing sheets. And for the 3D view, the default 3D view, we pretty much want to use that in our modeling. We don't want to use it as a presentation view because it's so easy to change it and move things around. So one way to deal with that is to duplicate your 3D view. So I don't want to rename it. So if I right click it and go duplicate view, now I can rename this. Yeah, when I want to rename it, won't click. And I'm just going to call it orthographic so that you can see the difference between the two. Now, should you forget to duplicate it and you just rename this one or you delete it, all you got to do is click on your default 3D view button up here again, and it will create that default 3D view for you. Okay. Rename it. All right, so if you want to create additional 3D views, we can do so in our, we do it in a plan view. So we can be in a floor plan or the site plan. Now the floor plan would be for, interior views, of course. We would work with our site plan if we're going to create exterior 3D views. Duh. Okay, so from here, we go to view, 3D view, and we go camera. And so the first thing we do is we place the camera. Now, if you notice up here in the options bar, we got a choice of, is it a perspective or orthographic? Well, perspectives do not have scale. Perspectives are just whatever the zoom is in or out. So if we turn off perspective, now we can set a scale that we would want this view to be on a drawing sheet. So just for giggles, I'll say 1/4 inch. The offset to start with is going to be the camera level, the height of the camera. And so if we place it, let's just say here, and then when we drag out, now we're going to be placing the target, and we can change the heights of the target so we're looking up or looking down on our object. So I'm going to change the height of the target to 10 feet. Come on, mouse. Something got hung up. There we go. And so I set my target, and I'm going to set it back here, kind of rear the building back here. Okay, so now this creates my orthographic view. And it looks kind of funky because I'm looking down. So let's go ahead and make this shaded. How did I set that? Camera. So I'm at 5'6", looking up to 10 feet. Oh, because my grade back there in the back was a little taller. Okay, so if we want to adjust our crop view, we can do so here. We can drag the buttons in or out. Not a problem. Okay, we can go back to our site plan, and this shows us our crop region. This is our far clip as to how far back we can see. If you remember from section views, if we look here at our properties, that gives the distance from the camera. Now, one of the things dealing with perspectives is when we set a far clip distance, it will always be from the camera, no matter where we move or how we move the view. Okay, so we can change the target, but the far clip will always be from the camera. So if we change the camera, you see the far clip moves with it. If we rotate the camera about the target, everything moves like that. Okay. Now if I grab my target, I can swing it, and everything, rotates around the camera. Okay, and so I can bring my clip back in closer to the building. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea of how we can create these things, how we can kind of manipulate those things around. The crop size, so I can do it by dragging either here or back on the site plan, but I've got a tool up here called the size crop. And if I know I'm going to be putting this view on a piece of paper to print, I can set the size of the view that I want. Okay, and then I can adjust it, in and out, whatever. So let's just say 25 inches by 10 inches. Okay, so you see it didn't change the zoom, it just changed the crop. Okay. If I want to change the zoom of this, I have to go back and move my camera closer to the building. And so you can see now I'm in closer to the building. I can adjust my crop regions. So there's various ways to do both of those things. Okay. I can change I can change these things right here. Let's change that to 10 feet so that my eye and my target is the same. If I change my target down, let's say 6 feet. Okay, so these are all, methods of manipulating your view. you can do it, keyboard numerically, mathematically, or you can, just change it here. Because if you do it with a view cube, you're changing your target and you see my target and my eye elevation both changed. If I just take the compass here and rotate it, none of my elevations changed. All it did was change, it's rotating the camera position around the target. Okay. I'm looking at my notes here. Okay, so I'm going to and I've given you a file that you are welcome to follow along with me. I am going to close all of these so that I've got just these two right here open. And let's look at, you're familiar with section boxes. Okay, so if I activate section boxes, and before I do that, let me turn on, show my crop region. Okay, now in an orthographic view, you can see I'm spinning my view. The crop region doesn't change. Your camera and target position changes. Okay. If I activate my section box and do some dragging around, you see it still stays within that same crop region. And if I were to crop my view, oh, I'm not outside, so I have to adjust my crop region in. Okay, so let me do not crop view. And then if I crop the view, you can see it cuts off the topo surface there, but the section box is still visible. Okay, let's see. I did the rotate view, looked at the camera settings. I've got several pages of notes here that I'm going to go through. So back to the site plan here. If you've created this view and you need to adjust your camera and stuff from here, the way to find it is to come over in your properties, come on mouse, and right click the view name and then go show camera. Okay, and this will show you, oh, my camera and my target kind of got swung around because the way I was messing around with things. Okay, and I'm going to turn on far clip. Wow, 1,000 feet. Okay, so now since I've only got two views open, I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut, WT, which will tile my two views. And then I can ZA, which will center and zoom them. Okay, so let's show my camera again. So now you can see where my camera is. You see where my camera is. At the same time, we're looking at it in the 3D view. And so I can kind of play with my orientation and it will update as we're going. Now keep in mind, I have my section box here active. And if you notice, I pull my section box into the site plan, if you will. If I pull it into the site plan, it cuts and shows a depth of the soil material. Okay, but if it's outside of that, it just shows it as a topo surface with no depth. Okay, so now I'm doing this just to kind of give you ideas of how things are going to look. Okay, and of course, since I've got the section box highlighted, that's what's showing up in blue over here in this view. So let's go back to my camera again here and adjust the crop region again. So I'm just playing with things, showing you how things are working here. So you can kind of play with these. And the one thing that I have never noticed before, until I started looking at this, but in the section box, when you click on the section box, there's a rotate handle. And it allows you to rotate your section box. And you can see over in my side view, because originally it's orthographic with the view, but now it allows you to rotate around your building. I never knew that before. So I'm going to just kind of Control Z back. To kind of get me back orthographic there. Okay, I'm at 16 minutes. I'm going to pause this video and then I'll start another one after this.